Hey YouTube, Joeboy here. So, today I want to talk about the world government's desperation and the future mass genocide of the One Piece world. So the last One Piece theory video that I made talked about the Great Cleansing, but in reality, when I was talking about the cleansing, I was only talking about it from a very narrow mindset, which is that at the end of the chapter, the Gorosei and Aim-sama or Imu, we're talking about killing off somebody, and I suppose that it is going to be Vivi, but it could also be Luffy or Shirahoshi or Blackbeard or any combination of those individuals. But I do not think that killing an individual constitutes an actual great cleansing. I think a great cleansing suggests a very large scale. So basically this is what I'm saying. We see the bald Gorosei say in chapter 908 of One Piece, the balance of the world cannot be maintained forever. It seems like there is a need for a great cleansing. What I'm saying is that the need for the great cleansing has not yet arrived and is not in reference to the plot to assassinate any of the four previously mentioned characters. I believe that this is foreshadowing to something that has not yet been set in motion. And I think that the reason for the delay is that the world government, Aim-sama and the Gorosei, are very, very careful and patient. I mean, they debated about attacking Vivi, Shirahoshi, Blackbeard, and Luffy separately as though they could not kill them all at the same time, even though that should be within their power to at least try. And they shouldn't have too many overwhelming fears because all of these characters are actually criminals. So I think that in order to enact a great cleansing, which is essentially a mass genocide of whatever groups of people, that the world government is going to have to be pushed into the corner. They're going to have to decide that there is no other alternative. Essentially, I think that this is foreshadowing to a time in which the world government is incredibly desperate. And straight up, I don't think that they are there yet. In fact, I think that this plot, let's assume that it's related to Vivi. This plot related to Vivi is essentially another solution that they've come to attempt to restore the balance, which is that they see other avenues of reestablishing this balance without having to kill off every naysayer that exists. So I'm going to be honest, guys. I don't think that there's any information in the story that details anything substantial relating to, multiple past great cleansings that have occurred in the One Piece world. I think that the story is only implied or hinted at one of them previously, and that was the fight of the Ancient Kingdom versus the 20 Kings. I believe that was a mass genocide, a great cleansing. And I believe that looking into that situation gives you perspective on how the world government would handle an event like that. I imagine it being like reckless abandon, like sending all of your forces, doing everything within your power to eliminate completely a group of people, and then afterwards hiding the evidence, or erasing the history, if it is necessary to do that. Another example potentially that we can look at is Ohara. What happened to the scholars of Ohara could be classified as a great cleansing that the world government set out to eliminate every single scholar. Now, I don't think that they ordered Akainu to fire on the rest of the Oharans, the ones who were not researching the true history, but even just the scholars as a group could be considered a kind of genocide. A genocide in which the world government did not need to erase the history because it was not necessary. Because the Oharans were clearly breaking the rules. So maybe the world government felt more justified in an action like that. But I don't think being justified or not, as far as how people would interpret them, would stop them from doing something if they were in a corner and felt that there was no other alternative. And if they were forced to kill the innocent or there was unintended casualties, their response would be to change the history to make them look more favorable. But anyway, guys, I think the question on my mind is who will be the targets for the future great cleansing, assuming that this line is some kind of foreshadowing, and how would the world government go about attempting this cleansing? And so, guys, there was a theory that I talked about in my first reaction to one of the recent chapters, and I want to reiterate it here again in a theory video by itself, because honestly, guys, it's highly persuasive to me. I believe that this will come to pass. That isn't to say that it will, only that I think that there is reason to believe that it will. And the theory is relatively straightforward. I think that the world government will obtain the ancient weapon Pluton. And in connection with what we have recently learned from the One Piece story, I believe that the ancient weapon Pluton will be responsible and their vehicle for this great cleansing in the future of One Piece. Now let's start again by discussing this theory in a new context. And I understand that what I'm about to say is not confirmed yet, but it is the impression that I currently have about I'm Sama and the Gorosei, which is that they seem to me to be omniscient or all-knowing. There's this general vibe of even the things that we think that they don't know, they do know, but they just choose not to act on that knowledge yet. Things like Shirahoshi, right? What are the chances that the world government has captured Caribou? I don't think that is particularly high, although that could be a way in which they've discovered that Shirahoshi is the ancient weapon Poseidon. But if that is not, then the impression I get is like the spider from Game of Thrones, that from the shadows they are listening, that they have eyes everywhere watching. They turn their ears to the whispers on the wind. And why this is significant is because Crocodile knows some really interesting things dating back to the Alabasta arc. First off, somehow he suspects that the kingdom of Alabasta is housing a poneglyph. But not only do they have a poneglyph, he knows what this poneglyph might be about. It might be indicating the location of the ancient weapon Pluton. And then aside from this, even more conspicuously, he also suspects that the ancient weapon Pluton is buried somewhere in Alabasta. But not only did he know these things ended up becoming the truth, with the exception of the actual location of Pluton, the original ship created during the Void Century, which is not yet confirmed to be buried in Alabasta. And so, a lot of people say that the reason that Crocodile knows this is because Robin told him. But Robin did not tell him. This is, we see Crocodile recruit Robin back in the past, and Crocodile sought Robin out. It was not the other way around. In fact, we are led to believe that Robin is very close-lipped about what she knows about the poneglyphs and wouldn't be spreading that information. She doesn't even spread that information to members of the Strat crew, let alone Crocodile. No, Crocodile recruited her and for a specific purpose, which is later revealed to be interpreting the poneglyph in Alabasta, which is to say that before Robin told him anything, Crocodile thought Robin could help him. And so guys, the point of saying this is that we're assuming that I'm Sama and the Gorosei are essentially omniscient. They are all-knowing. What Crocodile knows, I suspect that they know. Or what Crocodile suspects they suspect. They share the common rumors. In fact, I didn't share this in my video talking about Vivi and why she might be the target because I intended on making this video, but that could very well be a big part of why Vivi is the target. The Gorosei even intimate in the last chapter that they know that the kingdom of Alabasta were traitors. And the common theory, the common idea, which I've discussed before, I believe, is that Alabasta Kingdom betrayed the 20 Kings, even though they are a part of that group. That's why they did not go to MavisHdz. They were secret allies of the Ancient Kingdom, and that's why they are protecting, even though it doesn't seem that way, even though Robin was skeptical, they are protecting the poneglyph as well as Pluton. Very similar to the other groups that we see protecting and hiding poneglyphs. Again here guys, the point of all of this is I think that if the Gorosei and I'm Sama wanted to, they could pursue these rumors and find the truth, find the hidden poneglyph, and also find the Pluton. And this would be made all the more convenient if Cobra ends up bringing them up during the reverie. And so guys, I mentioned that this seems telegraphed to me, and the main reason that this is something that just makes a ton of sense is we know that there are two separate ways to obtain the Pluton. And this is something that's easy to overlook if you don't reread One Piece or you're not actively a part of Pluton-related discussions. But Frankie has the blueprints for Pluton, which is separate from the actual original Pluton ship created during the Void Century. The blueprints existed and were passed down by the creators in the case that the original Pluton was found and used by the wrong hands. The purpose of these blueprints still existing was so that somebody, a master shipwright, could recreate the Pluton, a new ship created in present day, which would be the only thing capable of destroying the original. The blueprints were passed down as a failsafe to protect the world from the Pluton's mighty destructive capabilities. Now, the story to obtain the blueprints is over, but the story to obtain the original Pluton is not. And so, as the theory goes, somebody, in my opinion, this will be the world government, they find the original Pluton, and then Frankie, having not actually destroyed the Plutons, he destroyed a fake copy, or in some way has memorized or programmed the blueprints, in a cyborg body somewhere. And once the original Pluton is found and used against the world to destroy islands as it is claimed to be capable of, Frankie would then be motivated to turn the Sunny into this new Pluton in order to fulfill his duty and the purpose of the blueprints. And I think that there's a lot of parallels that can be taken and rationales for sort of, where Oda is taking the story, even going back to Frankie's own flashback, his sort of character arc. It was that Frankie built all sorts of different kinds of weapons, and he didn't create those weapons to destroy anybody. Like, he didn't want them to kill. But they were weapons that he created. They had the potential to be used in negative ways. But he was rather reckless in creating them. And everybody warned him, Iceberg and everybody, you can't just create these weapons. It's dangerous. And it took the world government and Spandine or Spandum seizing control of these weapons and firing them against Water 7 and harming his mentor Tom, for him to understand the lesson and the dangers of creating weapons. So I think that there has to be, whether it was in the past or it's going to be in the future, this Pluton, which I don't think was created to destroy, but has the capability of destruction. It will be used against its creator's will. Just the same as Frankie's original weapons in his flashback. And if we are assuming here that the Pluton was not created to take lives and destroy necessarily, the other idea is that the Pluton its destructive capabilities have to do with destroying the Red Line. That is the theory. But it can destroy other things. If it's being used against the creator's will, then obviously it's going to be fired against innocent people and actually destroy islands. Which aligns just too perfectly with the idea behind a great cleansing. The Pluton is essentially a singular ship capable of a buster call. You don't have to mobilize multiple vice admirals in order to do it, you just need the one ship. And its parallels with the idea behind a buster call are also extremely coincidental to me. It's really telling me, of course, the world government will find this and use this as a kind of technology to facilitate ideas and processes that they already believe in. And when we potentially get to the part of the story when the world government becomes desperate enough to just eliminate their enemies and then later rewrite history as need be, then they can be very laissez-faire about who they fire this movable buster call on. But anyway, guys, I wanted to explain this theory again because I think that it is just more, it's so much more viable than it was before, and I believed it even before this last chapter and the idea of the Great Cleansing. But the next question is who's going to be cleansed? And I think that there's a lot of really obvious speculations, right? You have the Revolutionary Army, potentially. You have all of these islands which are friendly with pirates, or that are anti-world government. Obviously, these would be targets. You could be talking about pirates themselves, Yonko crew, Yonko fleets, all makes sense. And I also want to clarify that part of the cleansing and the actions of the world government might not necessarily directly involve the Pluton, but rather just finally not giving a shit, essentially. We're gonna kill everybody and anybody in order to restore this balance that we desire. So I want to talk about something a little bit more low-key. I want to talk about the genocide of every single person currently revealed to have the initial D in the world. And this of course includes pirates like Monkey D. Luffy or Marshall D. Teach. It's also pretty obvious to speculate certain Revolutionary Army leaders, Monkey D. Dragon, but could also include marine heroes like Monkey D. Garp. When I say everybody, I mean everybody. And the reason that I think that this idea has been foreshadowed before goes back to chapter 594. I want you to be very careful about which translations that you read, because this part of the story was mistranslated by scanlations. But essentially the Gorosei say this in chapter 594. It always seems those with the D who cause such trouble, just like Ace. It would seem that the name has become rather too exposed at this point. Of course, the Gorosei and I'm Sama know about the history of the D name. Nearly everybody in the story calls the Ds the enemies of the world government. D means danger, all sorts of stuff like that. And what they're saying here is that the D initial is becoming much too common in the world, which is definitely the case because nearly everybody of great significance with actions against the world government, or a lot of them at the very least, have the D initial, whether it be Gold D. Roger, Portgas D. Ace, Monkey D. Luffy, Monkey D. Dragon, Marshall D. Teach. Like, the Ds are definitely, bringing a storm with them. There's a reason why Trafalgar Law states that the D is supposed to be, although some families seem to have forgotten this, is supposed to be a hidden initial that you're not supposed to reveal. Again, guys, the theories, I'm sure a lot of you are aware, is that the D refers to a connection between these individuals, ancestry, and the ancient kingdom. As Robin suggests back in Skypiea, perhaps the meaning of the D when she was asked by Gonfall has been a part of history lost. It has a direct connection with the Void Century, which the world government actively attempts to repress. So it stands to reason the world government would like to eliminate anybody with connections to the D, anybody with the D initial, but as the impression that we're given in the last chapter, they're very careful about what they do or what they don't do. But again, going into the future in a time in which they're desperate, in which a great cleansing is necessary, this would be, if you're going to rewrite history anyway, this would be the time to eliminate as many of them as you can. Notorious individuals as well as the innocent. And if we're lucky, this could be the impetus or the reason why Garp finally joins the good guys and renounces his ties to the world government. But going back to the Pluton and the firing of it on civilians, on innocents, on naysayers to the world government, I do believe that if the Pluton is found, the first country destroyed by it will of course be Alabasta itself. Which is a huge reason why I am so fearful for that country and for Vivi and Cobra along with everything else that is going on right now. And I do think that this world cleansing, the idea behind it, however it is executed, will be a huge reason and justification for the entire world coming together for a grand final battle against the world government. I do believe that the final battle, the final major battle of One Piece is going to be spectacular. It's going to be insane. You'll have Luffy as well as all of his pirate allies and many others that he's collected, unified them as the Pirate King. But it won't just be pirates fighting together, it will include all of the allies Luffy has made with various countries across the Grand Line. And again, many other countries he may not have a direct connection to either. And even possibly Marines. But anyway guys, the last theory was talking about a more small scale cleansing, taking out individuals whose deaths could be significant in restoring balance. But in the case that this does not work and the world government becomes desperate, I really wanted to discuss what I consider to be an actual great cleansing, not just a cleansing, which I do think has been foreshadowed. But as always, I'm curious as to what you guys have to say about this, whether you agree with anything that I had to say. Just share your thoughts. Like the video if you liked the video, dislike the video if you disliked the video. Make sure to subscribe if you want to be notified for my future content. And as always, guys, have a wonderful day.